Hello guys, now in this video, let's discuss about the female factors of infertility. Guys, there are a lot of factors in female which can lead to infertility. Now, for example, the factors like ovarian causes or the uterine causes, like cervical causes or tubal related. See, there are many factors in female which can lead to infertility in her. Now, in this lecture, let's see ovarian causes of infertility. What problems may lie in the ovaries that can lead to infertility in the females? Now, guys, please concentrate. The two major causes of ovarian infertility in females are. Okay, the two major ovarian causes of infertility are anovulation and decreased ovarian reserve. What does I mean by? Guys, please concentrate here. Anovulation. What does it mean by anovulation, guys? No ovulation. No ovulation means that the secondary oocyte is not released. So whenever the secondary oocyte is not there, a sperm cannot fertilize it, so that there is no baby. So that is leading to infertility. Means an ovulation. She is not ovulating. Whatever might be the reason, she is not ovulating. If she is not ovulating, she cannot become a pregnant. So that's one of the major causes of infertility. And please remember that anovulation can be easily treated. Okay, we will see how we will treat this anovulation. Okay, now the second important cause, ovarian related cause for the infertility, is decreased ovarian reserve. That usually inside the ovaries, inside the female ovaries, she should have lots of eggs. She should have lots of ovarian follicles, and these follicles should rupture, release the ovum that should be fertilized. But what if at the age of 25 years or 30 years, her ovarian reserve is going down? Okay, in her ovaries, there are no eggs left. That is premature ovarian failure. Okay, see, the eggs are getting depleted in the ovaries. That's the decreased ovarian reserve. Okay, now let's see first about the ovulation. Okay, let's see an ovulation. See guys, how to know whether she have ovulated or not? Okay, an ovulation is one of the major causes of the infertility in female. Now how to know whether she is ovulated or not? See, for that there are certain tests which can show you whether she is ovulated or not. For example, basal body temperature. Guys, usually in a ovulatory cycle is a biphasic cycle. Okay, it's a biphasic pattern of temperature variation is seen. What does I mean by? See, usually in the first 14 days, the basal body temperature is almost normal. But at the time of ovulation, on the day of ovulation, because of this high LH surge, there is increase in the basal body temperature by almost 0.5 to 1 degree centigrade. What does I mean by? So whenever there is ovulation happening, at that time there is increase in the basal body temperature by almost 0.5 to 1 degree centigrade, which is an indication for the female that she is ovulating. So she have to continuously take. So if she want to know on which day she is ovulating, whether she is ovulating or not, she have to continuously monitor her basal body temperature. Whenever her basal body temperature is rising by 0.5 to 1 degree centigrade, means that she is ovulating. And this rise sustains throughout the second half of the cycle and falls 2 days prior to the next period. Okay, in the next half of the cycle, okay, in the next half, or we will say during the secretory stage of the cycle, this rise in the temperature persists. But remember, see, whenever there is no rise in temperature throughout the cycle, it's an indication of an ovulation. Now, let's see, by just checking the cervical mucus, okay, consistency. By checking the cervical mucus consistency, we can know the female is ovulated or not. How, sir? For example, under the influence of the estrogen, that is the first half of the cycle, that is the estrogen predominance proliferatory phase. During the first half of the cycle, estrogens will make the cervical mucus easily stretchable. Okay, because under the influence of estrogens, the cervical mucus is easily stretchable and it shows ferning. Okay, you can see fern kind of pattern. I think most of you guys know it, right? Ferns, okay, plants, okay. A ferning can be seen and the cervical mucus is easily stretchable. But During ovulation or after ovulation, because of high amounts of progesterone, this firming is lost and stretchability is also lost. The cervical mucus become thick. Okay, so persistence of firming, guys, usually under the influence of progesterone, this firming should last, and the stretchability is known as spin bucketing. Both should last. So persistence of firming and stretchability beyond 22nd day. So beyond 22nd day means, what does it mean by, guys? We are just checking in the second half of the cycle. 22nd day means second half of the cycle, and usually we all know that 22nd day is the day when highest amounts of progesterone is there. So even on that day, still firming is there and still the cervical mucus is stretchable, means it is an indication of an ovulation. Okay, there is no ovulation, there is no corpus luteum. So whenever there is no corpus luteum, there is no progesterone. So whenever there is no progesterone, under the influence of estrogens, still the cervical mucus is stretchable and still there is a firming. Now guys, just let me show you how firming and how stretchability looks. See, this is the cervical mucus stretchability, that's also known as a spin bucketing sign, and you can see under the microscope that the cervical mucus is showing a fern kind of pattern, okay, just like in a plant kind of pattern. Now, what are the other ways how we can know whether the female is ovulated or not? It's the vaginal cytology. Guys, please concentrate. We have already studied in the topic of female reproductive tract that the vaginal epithelium is stratified squamous epithelium, and how many different types of epithelial cells are there, guys? See, in the vaginal epithelium, there are 3 different types of cells. What are they? It's the parabasal cells, intermediary cells, and superficiary cells. Guys, please concentrate. Parabasal cells will be more in number in vaginal cytology. Parabasal cells will be more in number during menopause. Okay, during menopause or during no hormone fluctuations, more amount of parabasal cells will be there. More amount of intermediary cells will be there during progesterone dominance. So whenever there is a progesterone dominant state, you will see more number of intermediary cells. That is when more amount of progesterone is there during second half of menstrual cycle. Okay, second half of menstrual cycle, you will be having more number of intermediary cells because of progesterone predominance, and more number of superficiary cells will be there during estrogen dominance. So during estrogen dominance, more number of superficiary cells will be there. So when you will be having estrogen dominance, guys, estrogen dominance will be there during proliferatory phase or first half of a menstrual cycle. So during first half of menstrual cycle or during proliferatory phase, estrogens are more in number. These estrogens will cause more number of proliferation of superficiary cells. So just by having this concept in mind, please concentrate here. After ovulation, under the effect of progesterone, there is a left shift in maturation index. Left shift in the sense, left shift indicates more number of intermediary cells. Okay, so after ovulation, under the effect of progesterone, there is a left shift in maturation index, that is predominance of intermediary cells. So guys, if there is intermediary cells, more number of intermediary cells, it indicates there is progesterone. So why we will have progesterone, guys? Progesterone is there because of corpus luteum. Why there is corpus luteum? Because of ovulation. So presence of intermediary cells indicates ovulation has happened. But even in second half of menstrual cycle, there is a more superficiary cells, means it indicates that ovulation is not happened. And hormonal studies, guys, this is very simple. Usually in the second half of the menstrual cycle, you need to have more amount of progesterone. Okay, see, you have to do the progesterone levels on 8th day and you have to redo the progesterone hormonal levels on 22nd day. Usually on day 8, that is the first half of the menstrual cycle, the progesterone levels will be less than 1 milligram. Okay, 1 milligram per ml. But on the 22nd day, more than 10 milligram per ml. For example, there is a 10 milligram per ml. More than 6 milligram per ml. For example, usually it will be there around 10 milligram per ml. Suggest ovulation. What does you are seeing here, guys? See, on 8th day, there is less amount of progesterone, but on 22nd day there is 6 milligrams or more than 6 milligrams per ml, which is indicating that the progesterone levels have raised. Indicates that there is corpus luteum, indicates that the ovulation has happened. So these are the tests for ovulation. Now there are some other tests to know whether the ovulation is happened or not. See, endometrial biopsy. Guys, how by doing endometrial biopsy we know whether the ovulation is happened or not? See, on the day of ovulation, you will be having the formation of corpus luteum, and this corpus luteum is going to produce progesterone. This progesterone will come and it will act on the uterine endometrium and makes the uterine endometrium into secretory state. Okay, usually under the influence of estrogens, the uterine endometrium is undergoing proliferative phase, but because of the presence of progesterone in the second half of the menstrual cycle, the endometrium becomes more secretory and more receptive for implantation. So endometrial biopsy, presence of secretory endometrium means ovulation happened. Proliferative endometrium is present means it's an indication of an ovulation. Okay, so one more way how to know whether the ovulation is happened or not, just by doing ultrasonography of the ovaries. See, upon doing the ultrasonography of the ovaries, if you have found out a corpus luteum in the ovaries, it means ovulation is happened. And also you can do confirmation of the ovulation by just checking the seeing at the pouch of Douglas. If ovulation happened means some fluid will be coming out of that ruptured Grapharian follicle, and this fluid will be collected in the pouch of Douglas. So whenever there is an ovulation, there will be fluid collection in pouch of Douglas. So presence of fluid in the pouch of Douglas can also indicate that ovulation have happened. Okay, so at the end of the day, you just confirm that the infertility in this female is because of an ovulation. Okay, she is not ovulating, she is not laying her eggs, for example. Now what to do? So what is the management? See, here if she is not ovulating, make her ovulate. How we can achieve this? Guys, it's very simple, by giving ovulation inducing drugs. Okay, so you have to prescribe her the ovulation inducing agent so that she will now ovulate. For example, the most famous ovulation inducing drug or agent is clomiphene citrate. Okay, we all know that how this clomiphene citrate works. Simply remember, clomiphene citrate is an anti-estrogen. So if I take clomiphene citrate, for example, if I take clomiphene citrate is an anti-estrogen, so that estrogenic negative feedback on pituitary is lost. So usually estrogens give negative feedback for FSH and LH acting on the pituitary. So whenever you give clomiphene citrate is an anti-estrogen, okay, partial anti-estrogen. So whenever you are given with clomiphene citrate, the negative feedback on FSH and LH is lost. So what happened, guys? FSH and LH level starts to raise, especially FSH level starts to raise. So what happens? Whenever there is a more amount of follicle stimulating hormone, your ovarian follicles are stimulated so that those follicles will rupture and ovulate. And letrozole. See, letrozole is an aromatase inhibitor. Okay, see, usually androgens are getting converted into estrogens with the help of enzyme aromatase. Okay, with the help of enzyme aromatase in the adipose tissue, androgens are getting converted into estrogens. So whenever you inhibit aromatase, androgens are not getting converted into estrogens, so that decreases the levels of estrogens. So if you decrease the levels of estrogens, the negative feedback on FSH LH is lost. So more amount of FSH will be there. That more amount of FSH will stimulate the ovarian follicles for the ovulation. And HCG injection, human chorionic gonadotropin injection, very very important. See, even this human chorionic gonadotropin, which is almost similar in structure with the LH. Okay, human chorionic gonadotropin and LH, they are almost structurally similar. So human chorionic gonadotropin just acts like LH. LH helps in ovulation. LH surge causes ovulation. We already knew this. So HCG, as it is similar to LH, even giving this HCG will lead to ovulation. And HMG, human menopausal gonadotropins. Guys, I have already said, in the urine of a menopausal woman, there is high amounts of FSH. In the urine of menopausal women, there is high amounts of FSH. So you have to extract this FSH and inject this FSH into a woman who is an ovulation, okay, and woman who is anovulating. So please concentrate, guys. Human menopausal gonadotropin is nothing but the FSH which is extracted from the urine of postmenopausal women. So inject this FSH which is collected into the woman who is undergoing an ovulation. So this FSH now here will stimulate ovarian follicles. Why? Because it's a follicle stimulating hormone. So it stimulates the ovarian follicle so that she will ovulate. And GnRH analogs, guys, pulsatile doses of GnRH. See, GnRH means gonadotropin releasing hormones. If you give this female GnRH analogs in pulsatile doses, that will stimulate the release of FSH and LH, and FSH causes follicles to grow and LH causes follicular rupture and ovulation. So very, very important. What is the management of an ovulation? Management of an ovulation is by giving ovulation inducing drugs. Now, what are the, after this an ovulation is completed, we have seen what are the tests for ovulation and what are the management of an ovulation. Now let's see ovarian reserve. Okay, we have already seen that even decreased ovarian reserve, okay, premature ovarian failure is also one of the important ovarian cause for the infertility to occur. Now, how to know whether a female is having enough amount of ovarian follicles or not? How to know? See, there are some important tests which are very, very important. See, by doing this test, you can know whether the follicles in the ovaries are there or not. Okay, for example, see, serum FSH levels. Guys, please concentrate. Serum FSH levels more than 40 international units per ml. Okay, what does I mean by? Guys, usually estrogen should give negative feedback on FSH. Just think logically. When the ovaries are functional, when the ovaries are having enough amount of ovarian follicles, these ovarian follicles will produce estrogen, and these estrogens are giving negative feedback for the FSH. So FSH levels are kept in check. But whenever there is a premature ovarian failure or decreased ovarian reserve, ovarian follicles are not functioning. When ovarian follicles are not functioning, there is no estrogen production. Whenever there is no estrogen production, the negative feedback on FSH is lost. So that what to do? So that there is so much increase in the production of FSH. So high levels of FSH more than 40 international units per ml is an indication of, it's a definitive criteria for the premature ovarian failure. Okay. Now, serum inhibin B levels. Usually functioning ovaries, functioning granulosa cells produce inhibin B levels. But whenever there is a follicular failure or whenever there is an ovarian failure, there is no production of inhibin B. So inhibin B levels less than 45 picogram per ml is an indication of that there is ovarian failure. Not enough amount of follicles are there in the ovaries. Okay, it's also a diagnostic test. Now, clomiphene citrate challenge test. Okay, I don't want to go in detail. See, okay, just performing clomiphene citrate challenge test and serum anti-Mullerian hormone test and antral follicular count. All these are also the tests which are employed for knowing how good the ovarian reserve is. See, simply, please concentrate here. Antral follicular count. See, you are doing ultrasonography of the ovaries and you are counting the antral follicles. Okay, how many antral follicles are there? If good number of antral follicles are there means, okay, good ovarian reserve is there. But if you don't find out any antral follicles, which means there is a ovarian failure. So please remember, antral follicular count is a quantitative test. Quantitative test means you are checking the quantity, number of the ovarian follicles, antral follicles. And if someone asks you the qualitative test, the best test to know the ovarian reserve is anti-Mullerian hormone test. Okay, anti-Mullerian hormone test is the qualitative test. Qualitative a test. So qualitative test and the best test is serum anti-Mullerian hormone levels, and antral follicular count is the quantitative test. So okay, in the end of the day, you have diagnosed that the female is not having any follicles left. Okay, the female is not having any follicles left. She have completely gone into premature ovarian failure. Can she become pregnant? She is not having any follicles. So genetically or biologically, she cannot become a mother. Okay, if she is having some follicles, you can retrieve that follicles and you can do intracytoplasmic sperm injection, or you can go with the in vitro fertilization. You can do something. But if she is not having any follicles, means can she become pregnant? So what is the management? So in premature ovarian failure, totally all the follicles are burned out. In this condition, you can do in vitro fertilization with the donor oocyte. So remember, the management in this condition is in vitro fertilization with the donor oocyte is the management for premature ovarian failure. But if you find some follicles left, means try to extract that follicles by inducing the ovulation and collect those follicles and do in vitro fertilization with her same, with her ovum, with the partner's sperm. Okay guys, I have discussed the ovarian causes of infertility, which is anovulation and decreased ovarian reserve and their managements. Now in the next following video, we will discuss about the tubal factors of infertility, uterine factors of infertility and cervical factors of infertility. Thank you.